Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, doing the what's next on the undefeated unified super bantamweight champion of the world, Stephen Fulton Jr., following his dominating 12-round unanimous decision victory over former unified champion Daniel Roman. They fought on June 4th, and you know, as I keep saying, you know, Roman was competitive in many rounds. You know, he just couldn't keep up with the same pace, and he got cleanly outboxed and outworked by Stephen Fulton and lost a one-sided decision if you're basing it off of rounds. And it was competitive in the rounds. It's just Daniel Roman couldn't keep up with the same pace. Excuse me. So a big win for Fulton, which separates him from MJ Marajan Akhmadaliev. And, you know, it separates him a little bit more. And now he can push forward towards something else. So the big question now is, what's next for Stephen Fulton Jr. heading into the second half of 2022? And he wants to fight for undisputed. The only problem with that, and we're going to run through the rest of the top 10, but Marajan Akhmadaliev is number 2. Akhmadaliev has a mandatory title defense against Ronnie Rios that's due later this month. They're going to fight on June 25th. Likely that Akhmadaliev wins that fight, you know. But as far as I know, he still has at least one mandatory still left. Technically, it's supposed to be 2. Azat Havanassian, former world title challenger, was already in line in the WBA to fight for the title. Not sure how the WBA is going to handle that. But then for the IBF, there's Marlon Tapales. He stepped aside to allow the Akhmadaliev Ronnie Rios fight. So what are the governing bodies going to do regarding the next opponent for Akhmadaliev? Will they allow Stephen Fulton and MJ to collide for the undisputed Super Bantamweight Championship in the second half of this year, or will will the IBF or the WBA enforce mandatories on him to fight Stephen Fulton, and to fight their contenders, Havanassian or Tapales? What I would hope for is that those two governing bodies would have Havanassian and Tapales fight each other, with the winner to be the official mandatory #1 challenger for the undisputed title, following Akhmadaliev and Stephen Fulton at the end of this year. You know, we gotta wait and see what goes down, but I'm leaning towards the direction that it's less than 50% chance that we see MJ Akhmadaliev and Stephen Fulton fighting for undisputed next. Although the governing bodies can make this work, you know, they really can. So we'll see what they decide to do. Brandon Figueroa is moving up to 126, so a rematch with him for Stephen Fulton is not going to happen next. A rematch with Daniel Roman is out. Azat Havanassian. I doubt the fight can be made, because Havanassian is technically a mandatory to the WBA title, but say the WBA orders Akhmadaliev to fight Marlon Tapales next, and Azat Havanassian has to wait some more. He would be a very good opponent for Stephen Fulton. Here's the problem. Havanassian's with Golden Boy, Stephen Fulton's with the PBC, so it's really not likely. And I would love to see Havanassian's style against Stephen Fulton. I think that's a great matchup, but I just don't think they can get the fight done unless it's a mandatory ordered fight, and sadly it wouldn't be. Luis Nery, likely the front runner to land a fight with Stephen Fulton, as long as the undisputed title fight with MJ cannot be made. Nery was the opponent that Fulton was going to fight if Daniel Roman passed on the fight, and Nery is lost to Brandon Figueroa last year, got stopped in the 7th round, his first loss of his career, but he's a former 2 division champ, and he bounced back in a big way, defeating Carlos Castro early on this year, that really set him aside from everybody else. Scored a knockdown in that fight and defeated the undefeated Castro to put himself back on the map at 122. So I really think that there's a strong chance that Luis Neri is next for Stephen Fulton Jr. Ronnie Rios is fighting MJ at the end of this month. I think he's going to lose that fight, but it really doesn't matter. Win or lose, Ronnie Rios is with DAZN, and I can't remember if he's signed with Golden Boy or Matchroom, but I highly doubt a fight can be made between those two. Ionut Baluta, interesting matchup, but I don't think he's a big enough name for them to give to Stephen Fulton Jr. So I'm going to say no to that one. And then there's Angelo Leo. Stephen Fulton already handled Angelo Leo last year. Even though Leo is a solid contender, a rematch between the two wouldn't make any sense. Even if Fulton was just trying to stay busy, it just wouldn't make any sense for him. And then Carlos Castro sitting there. He's moving up to 126 officially and fighting Brandon Figueroa next. So that fight would not happen. So if we're looking at top 10 fighters, Stephen Fulton's going to push for the undisputed fight with MJ Marajan Akhmadaliev. But if that fight doesn't happen, I think it's almost for sure he's going to fight Luis Neri in the second half of this year. So we're going to see what goes down, but make sure you're paying attention. And that's what I got. That's the what's next on the undefeated and unified super bantamweight world champion Stephen Fulton Jr. following a dominating unanimous decision victory over former champion Daniel Roman. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.